My parents wanted me to risk my paid OFF house for my brother's $80,000 wedding. Hey friends! Got a sec? Drop your thoughts in the comments and hit subscribe. It's quick for you, but it really means a lot to the channel. Alright, let's dive into today's story. Original post. I never thought I'd be writing here, but I'm at my breaking point and need outside perspective. I'm a 30-year-old electrician who's worked my tail off since I was 18. Started as an apprentice right out of high school while everyone else was going to college, dealt with years of, when are you going to get a real education comments at family dinners, and slowly built my career from the ground up. 3 years ago, I finally achieved what felt impossible growing up in a family that always lived paycheck to paycheck. I paid off my house. It's nothing fancy, just a small 2-bedroom ranch in a working-class neighborhood, but it's mine. No mortgage hanging over my head, just property taxes and maintenance. That security means everything to me after watching my parents stress about rent my entire childhood. My younger brother is 26 and a musician. He's talented, genuinely, but the music industry is brutal. He teaches guitar lessons, plays gigs at local bars, does some session work when he can find it. On a good month, he makes maybe $2,500. On a bad month, significantly less. He's been with his girlfriend for 3 years, and they just got engaged last month. Here's where everything goes sideways. My parents called a family meeting last weekend. I thought maybe someone was sick or they needed help with something. Instead, they presented me with their grand plan. I should take out an $80,000 home equity loan to pay for my brother's wedding. Their reasoning: family invests in family happiness. They've already promised his fiancée's family an elaborate celebration. We're talking country club venue, live 10-piece band, open premium bar, destination bachelor party, the works. They made these promises without having a dime to contribute themselves. My parents are in their late 50s with basically nothing saved for retirement, still renting, and somehow they're promising other people my money. When I said I needed to think about it, my mother actually said, "There's nothing to think about. Family comes first." My father added that I'm already successful and can easily rebuild, while my brother needs this to start his marriage right. They kept emphasizing how I have a steady union job with benefits while my brother is following his passion and needs support. The guilt trip intensified when my brother chimed in. He talked about how this wedding would be a networking opportunity, how his fiancée's family has connections in the entertainment industry, and how impressive wedding would elevate his professional standing. He actually used the phrase, investment in my career. When I asked how a party would advance his music career, he got defensive and said I wouldn't understand because I chose the safe path. His fiancée was there too, already deep into planning with my mother. They had venues bookmarked on an iPad, dress appointments scheduled, and a Pinterest board that must have had 1,000 pins. She kept saying how she'd always dreamed of a fairy tale wedding, and how grateful she was to be joining such a supportive family. The manipulation was so thick you could cut it with a knife. The thing that really got me was when my mother pulled me aside after and said my grandmother would be so proud to see the family coming together like this. My grandmother, who died 5 years ago, left me $10,000 specifically because she said I was the only one in the family who understood the value of hard work and saving. I used that money toward paying off my house early. Now my mother's invoking her memory to guilt me into risking that very house. I've run the numbers. An $80,000 home equity loan would mean monthly payments around $850 for 10 years, assuming decent interest rates. That's $850 I currently put into my retirement account and emergency fund. If anything happens, if I get injured and can't work, if there's another economic downturn and construction slows, if I have any major emergency, I could lose my house. The house I worked 12 years to own outright. My brother, meanwhile, hasn't saved a penny for this wedding. He's known he wanted to propose for at least a year but didn't put anything aside. His fiancée works part-time at a boutique and is still paying off student loans for an art degree. They live in a 1-bedroom apartment and frequently borrow money from our parents for rent, yet somehow need a wedding that costs more than most people's annual salaries. The family pressure has been relentless since that meeting. Daily texts from my mother with links to articles about family financial support and investing in loved ones. My brother sent me a long email about how I'm blocking his happiness and success. My father called me selfish and said I've forgotten where I came from. Even extended family is getting involved. My aunt called to say she heard I was being difficult about helping with the wedding. I feel like I'm going insane. Am I really the villain here for not wanting to risk my home for a party? Is this what family is supposed to do? Every financial advisor I've ever heard says don't lend money to family, especially money you can't afford to lose. But maybe they don't understand family dynamics like ours. The stress is affecting everything. I can't sleep, I'm distracted at work, and I'm avoiding family calls, which just makes them angrier. My coworkers noticed I've been off and keep asking if I'm okay. How do I explain that my family expects me to potentially sacrifice my financial security so my brother can have ice sculptures and a chocolate fountain at his wedding? Update 1, 2 days later. I didn't expect this to blow up like it did. Reading your responses felt like finally coming up for air after being underwater. The phrase, financial abuse, kept appearing, and honestly, I'd never considered it that way. I just thought this was how families operated, especially working-class families where we all help each other. Something many of you suggested happened organically. My union rep noticed I was struggling at work. I've known him for 8 years, and he pulled me aside during lunch break yesterday. I ended up telling him everything, expecting maybe some sympathy and a pat on the back. Instead, his face went dark and he said, "Brother, that's not family love, that's financial abuse." He spent an hour breaking down what he's seen happen to other union members. Apparently, this is common enough that they actually discuss it in their financial planning seminars. He had stories: the electrician who lost his house co-signing for his sister's business loan, the plumber whose parents convinced him to cash out his pension early for their medical bills that turned out to be exaggerated, the carpenter whose family guilt him into paying for multiple relatives' expenses until he had nothing left. Then he said something that hit me like a brick. "You know what your family never mentions? That you're the only one they ask."
Why?
"Because you're the only one who has something to take." He was right. They never have family meetings about my brother contributing to our parents' retirement. They never guilt-trip him about his financial responsibilities to the family. The family invests in family line only goes one direction, toward whoever actually has assets. My rep offered to connect me with the union's financial counselor, and I met with her this morning. She pulled up actuarial tables and showed me exactly what taking that loan would mean. Not just the $850 monthly payments, but the opportunity cost. That $850 invested monthly with compound interest over the next 10 years could be worth over $150,000 by the time I retire. The $80,000 loan with interest would actually cost me close to $102,000 over 10 years. So the real cost of this wedding would be about $250,000 of my retirement security. She also showed me statistics about home equity loans. The default rate increases significantly when the loan is for non-essential purposes. Banks know that people are less motivated to pay back money that didn't go toward improving their lives or handling emergencies. And if I defaulted, I'd lose my house. My paid-off, secure house. Armed with this information and feeling supported for the first time in weeks, I called a family meeting of my own last night. I used my parents' own words, family meeting, and insisted everyone attend. My brother showed up annoyed, asking if this could wait because he had a gig later. That actually helped steel my resolve. I kept it simple and firm. I will not be taking out a home equity loan. This is not a discussion or a negotiation. I'm informing you of my decision. The explosion was immediate. My mother started crying, saying I was breaking her heart and destroying family unity. My father accused me of thinking I was better than them now that I owned a house. My brother called me selfish and materialistic, which was rich considering he wanted me to risk my material asset for his material party. His fiancée had the audacity to say that maybe I was jealous, that my brother found love and I'm still single. I had to laugh at that one. I'm single by choice right now, focusing on my career and financial goals. The idea that I'd sabotage my brother's relationship because I'm jealous is absurd. If anything, a marriage that requires an $80,000 party to be valid isn't starting on solid ground. I pulled out the paperwork from the financial counselor and tried to explain the real cost, but they weren't interested in math. My mother actually said, "Love isn't about numbers." I responded that neither is bankruptcy, but it happens anyway. My brother stood up at one point, getting in my face, saying I owed him for all the times he was compared to me, for all the family dinners where our parents praised my steady job while dismissing his music. I didn't back down. I told him that wasn't my fault and I won't pay reparations for our parents' behavior. Then I said something that seemed to shock them. If you all think an $80,000 wedding is reasonable and necessary, then together you should be able to figure out how to pay for it. But it won't be on my house. My father tried one last manipulation, saying that when they're gone, I'll regret not helping my brother when I could. I responded that what I'd regret is being homeless in my 70s because I took out loans I couldn't afford in my 30s. I left after that. They're still texting and calling, but I'm not responding right now. My union rep suggested I take a few days to let things settle. He also recommended I might want to talk to a therapist about family dynamics, and honestly, I'm considering it. Update 2, 3 weeks later. The last 3 weeks have been a journey I never expected. After my last update, things got worse before they got better. My family attempted what I can only call a full-court press. My mother showed up at my job site, which was mortifying. She stood there crying in front of my coworkers, begging me to reconsider. My supervisor had to ask her to leave. That night, my brother posted on social media about how blood isn't always family, and how some people choose money over love. Mutual friends started reaching out, asking what was going on. I decided to take my union rep's advice and see a therapist. The union's employee assistance program covered 6 sessions, and honestly, it's been eye-opening. The therapist specialized in family financial dynamics, and she helped me understand patterns I'd never recognized. Apparently, I've been the family stabilizer since I was a teenager, the one who got a job first, who helped with bills when our parents were short, who never asked for anything back. She asked me to write down every significant financial help I'd given my family over the years. The list was staggering. Paying for my brother's car repairs multiple times, covering my parents' rent twice when my dad was between jobs, buying groceries regularly throughout my 20s, paying for family dinners where everyone just assumed I'd grab the check. Conservative estimate? About $30,000 over 12 years. No one ever offered to pay me back or even acknowledged it as debt. The therapist also helped me see that my brother and I were set up for this dynamic from childhood. I was labeled the responsible one, and he was the creative one, as if those were mutually exclusive. Every time I succeeded, it was expected. Every time he struggled, it was explained away as the price of artistic passion. The family narrative was established before either of us had a chance to question it. During this time, something unexpected happened. My brother's best friend, someone he's known since middle school, reached out to me. He said he'd heard about the situation and wanted me to know that privately, a lot of my brother's friends thought the wedding plans were insane. He mentioned that my brother had been bragging about the elaborate wedding for months, telling everyone his family was paying for it. He'd already invited over 200 people and promised his musician friends they'd all be paid to perform. Apparently, his fiancée had been telling her family and friends that my family was wealthy and insisted on paying for everything as a welcome gift to her. Her parents, who live modestly themselves, were under the impression that we had old money, and this was just how we did things. The web of lies was much bigger than just our immediate family. I decided to have one more conversation with my brother, but this time one-on-one, without our parents or his fiancée. I texted him to meet me at a neutral location, a coffee shop near his apartment. He almost didn't show, but finally walked in 20 minutes late. I opened differently this time. Instead of defending my position, I asked him questions. Did he really believe an $80,000 wedding would help his music career? Did he think starting a marriage with that level of debt, even if it was my debt, was healthy? What would happen if I lost my job and couldn't make the payments? His answers were revealing. He admitted he'd gotten caught up in his fiancée's vision and our parents' promises. He said once they'd started telling people about the elaborate wedding, he felt trapped. He couldn't back down without looking like a failure. The networking argument? He knew it was weak, but it was the only justification he could think of that sounded professional rather than just wanting a big party. Then he said something that floored me. You got out. You have your house, your career, your stability. I'm still stuck in the same patterns, the same day-to-day survival mode we grew up in. I guess I thought this wedding was my chance to finally feel like I'd made it. I asked him if a party, even an elaborate one, would really change his daily reality. He'd still wake up the next day in the same apartment, with the same gigs, the same struggles. Only now he'd also have the knowledge that his wedding was built on his brother risking homelessness. For the first time in this whole mess, he actually seemed to hear me. He asked about the numbers I'd tried to show them before, and I went through it all again. The loan terms, the opportunity cost, the risk to my retirement. His eyes widened when he realized the true cost would be over $250,000 of my future security. I didn't know, he kept saying. Mom and Dad made it sound like you'd just be using some extra equity, like it was no big deal. I asked him what he actually wanted for his wedding, without our parents' input or his fiancée's Pinterest boards. He thought for a long time, then said he wanted to play music with his friends, marry the woman he loved, and have a good time with people who mattered to him. None of that required $80,000. Update 3, 6 weeks later. After my coffee shop conversation with my brother, things shifted dramatically. He went home and had what he described as the hardest conversation of his life with his fiancée. He told her there would be no $80,000 wedding, that our family couldn't afford it, and that they needed to plan something within their means. She didn't take it well initially. There were tears, accusations, threats to call off the engagement. She was embarrassed about what her family and friends would think. But my brother, for maybe the first time in his adult life, held firm. He told her if she needed an expensive party more than she needed to marry him, then they shouldn't get married at all. That shocked her into reality. After a few days of processing, she admitted she'd gotten carried away with social media wedding culture and family pressure. Her parents, learning the truth about our family's finances, were actually horrified that she'd expected such an elaborate affair. They offered to contribute what they could, about $5,000, toward a modest celebration. My brother did something that surprised everyone. He got a second job. Not in music, but using skills he developed over the years. He started doing sound engineering for corporate events, something he'd always considered selling out, but which paid $500 to $1,000 per gig. He took every job he could get, working 4 or 5 events per week on top of his music teaching. Our parents were furious at first, especially at me. They blamed me for ruining everything and destroying family dreams. But something interesting happened. Without me as the assumed financial backstop, they had to face their own situation. My mother finally admitted they were terrified of looking poor in front of my brother's fiancée's family. My father acknowledged he'd been living vicariously through the wedding plans, imagining himself as the patriarch of a successful family instead of a nearly 60-year-old man with no retirement savings. The therapist I'd been seeing helped me understand that by saying no, I wasn't just protecting my finances, I was breaking a generational cycle. My grandparents had done the same thing to my parents, always bailing them out, never letting them face consequences or learn to stand on their own. My parents were trying to continue that pattern, but without the means to do so, they designated me as the family banker. Update 4, 3 months later, final update. I'm writing this from my brother's wedding reception. Yes, you read that right. I'm at my brother's wedding, and it's beautiful. Not $80,000 beautiful, but genuinely, authentically beautiful in ways that expensive wedding could never have been. They got married this afternoon in a small park pavilion that cost $500 to rent. My brother and his musician friends provided all the music. Instead of a 10-piece band, we had an acoustic set with guitars, a violin, and a keyboard. My brother wrote an original song for his bride and performed it during the ceremony. There wasn't a dry eye in the place, including mine. The reception is at a local restaurant's private room. No country club, no ice sculptures, no chocolate fountain. But there's good food, local beer and wine, and about 60 people who genuinely love this couple. His fiancée, now wife, wore her mother's wedding dress, altered to fit perfectly. She looked radiant, and more importantly, stress-free. My brother pulled me aside earlier to thank me. Not sarcastically, but genuinely. He said forcing him to pay for his own wedding was the push he needed to take control of his life. In 3 months of working corporate sound gigs, he made $25,000, more than he'd ever made in such a short period. He realized he could do this kind of work part-time and still pursue his music, but now with financial stability. Here's the best part, we're going into business together. Not as financial partners, but as actual business partners. Through his corporate events, he noticed venues always struggle to find reliable electricians who understand sound and lighting design. Through my union connections, I know electricians who'd love consistent side work. We're starting a small company specializing in electrical and sound installation for music venues and event spaces. He brings the music industry knowledge and connections. I bring the technical expertise and union contractors. Our parents have been adjusting. They're here today, being supportive, though I notice they haven't apologized for the pressure they put on me. My mother made one comment about how it could have been grander, but my brother shut it down immediately. The dynamic has shifted. I'm no longer the only successful one expected to provide. My brother is stepping up as an equal adult in the family. My therapist calls this rebalancing the family system. By refusing to play my assigned role, everyone had to reassess theirs. My brother had to stop being the perpetual dreamer who needed rescuing. My parents had to face their own financial reality instead of living through their children. And I had to learn that saying no doesn't make me a bad son or brother, it makes me a person with healthy boundaries. The investment conversation has become a running joke between my brother and me now. He'll text me things like, investing in family happiness by teaching guitar to kids, or building family wealth by actually earning money. His wife has started calling us the Bootstrap Brothers, which would be insulting if she didn't mean it with genuine affection. As I sit here watching my brother and his wife dance to a song he wrote, performed by friends who played for free out of love, I realize this is what family investment really looks like. Not one person sacrificing their security for another's success, but people building each other up sustainably. My brother worked harder in the last 3 months than he had in years, and he's proud of it. He paid for his own wedding, modest as it is, and that means something. The union rep who first called this financial abuse was invited. My brother insisted, saying he wanted to thank the man who helped save both of us. My supervisor is here too, laughing about the day my mother showed up at the construction site. These aren't just co-workers anymore. They're the extended family who supported me when my blood family lost their minds. Tomorrow, my brother and his wife leave for their honeymoon, a long weekend at a cabin 2 hours away, not the 2-week European tour my parents had envisioned. But they're paying for it themselves, and they're excited about it. His wife posted on social media that their perfectly intimate wedding was exactly what she wanted, and she meant it. The comments are all about how personal and genuine everything felt, how the handwritten vows and original music made it unforgettable. My parents are slowly coming around. My father pulled me aside to ask about my retirement planning, genuinely interested for the first time. My mother asked if I could help her understand compound interest. They're finally facing that they're behind on retirement savings, and seeing me and my brother taking control of our finances has sparked something in them. It's late, but not too late. The business my brother and I are starting has its first 3 contracts lined up. Small venues, but it's a start. We're keeping our day jobs and building slowly, sustainably. No loans, no financial entanglement, just 2 brothers combining their skills to create something new. We meet every Wednesday night to plan, and those meetings have become something I look forward to. We're finally relating as equals, not as the responsible one and the creative one, but as 2 adults with different strengths working toward a common goal. I kept my house. It still paid off, still my security, still the foundation of my financial future. The $850 a month I'm not paying toward a home equity loan is going into index funds and my 401k, building the retirement my parents never planned for. I sleep soundly knowing I'm not one injury or economic downturn away from losing everything I've worked for. Looking back at my original post, I barely recognized that guy paralyzed by guilt and family pressure. Therapy helped, the union support helped, but mostly, standing firm helped. Every family has its dynamics, its assigned roles, its unspoken rules about money and obligation. But those patterns aren't laws of nature, they're just habits, and habits can be broken. My brother is about to throw the bouquet. His wife aimed it right at me, which got a huge laugh. I'm not catching it, not because I'm bitter about relationships, but because I'm genuinely content with where I am. Financially stable, professionally growing, and part of a business partnership with my brother that's based on mutual respect rather than obligation. Family does invest in family. But real investment means helping each other grow and build, not enabling each other's worst impulses or unsustainable dreams. It means saying hard truths and setting firm boundaries. It means working together from positions of strength, not guilt or manipulation. The DJ is playing the last song, my brother and his friends doing an acoustic cover of Don't Stop Believin', which is cheesy but perfect. Everyone's singing along, including our parents. His wife is laughing, dancing in her mother's dress, looking happier than any Pinterest board could have predicted. This wedding cost about $8,000 total, which my brother earned himself in 3 weeks of hustle. The family relationships it rebuilt, the self-respect my brother gained, the business partnership we formed, the generational patterns we broke, those are priceless. To everyone who commented on my original post calling this financial abuse, pushing me to stand firm, sharing your own stories of family money manipulation, thank you. You helped save not just my house, but my relationship with my brother. We're closer now than ever, bonded not by obligation or resentment, but by mutual respect and shared goals. And to anyone facing similar pressure, wondering if they're wrong to say no to family financial demands, you're not. Love isn't measured in dollars sacrificed or security risked. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable, force people to stand on their own, and show them they're capable of more than they imagined. My brother just grabbed the mic to thank everyone for coming. He thanked his wife for marrying him, his friends for playing music, our parents for their support. Then he looked right at me and said, and thanks to my brother, who taught me that real investment means building something together, not taking from each other. Our business is going to kill it. Everyone cheered. I raised my beer, he raised his, and for the first time in months, everything felt right with our family. Different than before, definitely more honest, maybe a bit scarred from the conflict, but ultimately stronger. That's my update. My house is safe, my brother's married, we're starting a business together, and our family survived. Not the fairy tale anyone envisioned, but something better, a real story with growth, consequences, and ultimately, genuine connection. Thanks for following along on this journey. Now if you'll excuse me, my brother's wife is insisting I dance to Sweet Caroline, and honestly, I've earned a little celebrating.